Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 1, and now we will present about describing learner. And here our member Anggun Lutvia, Ghina Yumna, and me, Dhini Febby, Suci Nurnadivah, and Nurul Mawarni. And the content that we will present today is characteristic of student based on their age. The second one is characteristic student based on their learning style. The third one is characteristic student based on their multiple intelligence. So level of CEFR and student English language according to the level. And the last one is about student motivation. And now we will talk about characteristics of student based on their age. The first one is about young children. In learning, young children respond to meaning even if they do not understand individual word. And they also often learn indirectly rather than directly. Young children also take an information from all sides, from around them. And their understanding comes not just from explanation, but also from what they see and hear and what they're curious. They also find abstract concepts such as grammar is something that is difficult to understand. They generally display an enthusiasm for learning and curiosity about the world around them. So the young learner always curious about everything. They have a need for individual attention and approval from the teacher. So they need the teacher to approve, to make approval for them. They are keen to talk about themselves and respond well if their own life be their main topics. So they have a limited attention span. Young learners just have 10 minutes to focus in learning. So after that, they can get easily bored. The next one is adolescence. Herbert Puchta and Michel Scott, they advocate linking language teaching much more closely to the everyday interest of student thought, in particular, and use of humanistic teaching. In adolescence, they moving from constraint to abstract thinking. They also have an intense curiosity and wide range of intellectual pursuit, few of which are sustained after the long term. They have high excitement, will challenge and enjoy. They prefer active over passive learning experience. So they have interest in interacting with peers during learning activities. They have an ability to be self-reflective, and the last, they have to demand the relevance in learning and what is being taught. And the last one is adult learner. Adult, they can engage with abstract thought. They have a wide range of life experience to draw on. They also have expectation about the learning process. So adults tend on the whole to be more disciplined than other age group, and crucially, they are often prepared to struggle on despite boredom. So adult learner come into classroom with a rich range of experience which allow teachers to use wide range of activities with them. And the last, adult learner, unlike young children and teenagers, they often have a clear understanding of why they are learning and what they want to get out of it. The next one, learning style, will presented by my friend Suci. Thank you.
Okay, here's some learning styles. The first one is auditory learners. The second is kinesthetic learners. And the last is visual learner. Characteristics of auditory learners. The first one is like to talk to self, lose concentration easily, prefer spoken direction over written direction, enjoy music, read with whispering lip movement, and then remember names, sing, and then cannot concentrate when noisy, and then extroverted, and the next is like listening, and then prefer lecture and discussion, and the last is prefer verbal praise from teachers. Here is some auditory teachers prefer. The first one is sing their voice to explain things, and then recording, conversation, and phone calls, discussion in class, and the next is students discuss issues among themselves, work together, and contribute their ideas. And then clever use of speech, making a point well. And the next is argument, the discussion. And the next is seminars, group presentation, student interaction, role plays, and dialogue. And then the last is to use the words question. Here is a characteristic of kinesthetic learner. The first one is move around a lot, and then prefer not to sit still, and the next is move a lot while studying, and then like to participate in learning, like to do things rather than read about them, and then do not prefer reading, and then do not spell well, enjoy problem solving by doing, like to try new things, talk with hands or gestures, and then select clothes according to is like to touch object. Kinesthetic learner teacher prefer. The first one is using real life example to explain things, and the next goes lectures, case studies, practical work, laboratories, and the next is exhibits, samples, work models, product that bring reality to the classroom. And the next is students to use all sensory mode to present their ideas. Clever use of quotation, metaphors, example, and analogies in written work. And the next is demonstration and open book examination. And the last is to use the word, give example, apply, and demonstrate in written exam question.
Characteristic of visual learner. talk, wander during lecture, observant but may miss some of what is said, well organized, like to read and so in.
The next will presentation by Anggun.
Okay, thank you. Characteristic of visual learner: talk, wander during lecture, observant but may miss some of what is said, well organized, like to read, and show intense concentration while reading. And good speller, remember better by seeing card diagram H, and then concentrate well, need to see direction, not hear them. Good handwriting, good memory, or talkative. And then last one, attention to detail. Next, uh, visual learner teacher prefer using written text to explain things, email, to give handout and accept to the class to have read widely and well, read out direction. Use visual when teaching lessons such as picture, card diagram, maps, and outline. Physically demonstrate tasks using visual to explain things. And then web page that have strong graphic, hotbox aids, diagram slide, card, graph, arrow, circle, and books. Next. Characteristic of student based on their multiple intelligence. Number one, verbal intelligence, logical intelligence, visual intelligence, bodily intelligence, musical intelligence. Interpersonal intelligence, interpersonal intelligence, and the last one, naturalist intelligence. Next. The multiple intelligence MI are verbal linguistic intelligence. Using language to present your idea, to express your feelings, or to persuade others. Logical mathematical intelligence, reasoning, logical thinking, handling mathematical problem. Visual spatial intelligence, reading and interpreting visual image, thinking in their dimension. Bodily kinesthetic intelligence, feeling and expressing things, physically doing head and work. And then naturalist intelligence, understanding nature, seeing nature in the way nature works, classifying things. Interpersonal intelligence between people, understanding the feeling and purpose of others. Interpersonal intelligence with the self, understanding your own interior thought and feeling in a very clear way. Musically, rhythmic intelligence, creating and feeling a rhythm to express a mood, detecting and analysis musical terms. Next, the next I will present Ghina.
Okay. Level of CEFR and students English language according to the level. First one is we can call A1 beginner. Beginner is someone who is at this level has very basic English skills. Understanding and using English is only about common vocabulary and simple sentence. The next is A2 elementary at the second level of CEFR, which is called A2 or elementary. A person's English skills are reflected in the interaction in English which are still limited. So people with A2 or elementary level can communicate in English, but the discussion only covers certain things that have been mastered. Next. B1 Intermediate, stepping to the next level. The third level is known as B1 Intermediate. A person can speak English passively and actively with a more varied topic than the previous level, both in informal and formal but limited station. And the next is B2 Upper Intermediate. At the fourth level of CEFR, you can call it B2 or Upper Intermediate at this level, which is indicated by mastery of English on various occasions without many obstacles. It will usually appear that the person is capable of understanding and practicing relatively complex English. Next. And the next is C1 Advanced. The fifth level in CEFR is called C1 Advanced. If someone accomplishes this level, it means that he can use English for academic and professional purposes. There are no more difficult to understand and apply English in almost all occasions. The last one is C2 Proficiency. C2 or Proficient or Expert is the sixth and final level of the CFR. Someone who is at the level has a position equivalent to a native speaker. That means the person concerned can use English in any situation and condition. The next
Motivation. Motivation is very important for student learning. Without motivation, students hardly enjoy their study. With motivation, students can easily find ways to train themselves and improve their skill. For example, is number one is showing intuition. Show your intuition by your action and manner that you find English is interesting. You can show it by telling them some success stories about people who become more successful because of their mastery in English. You can also use your voice and body language. And the next is taking the students' learning seriously. You can expect students to learn seriously if you also take their learning seriously. On the other way around, if you do not pay attention to their learning, you cannot expect them to do it seriously. That that is you when you need to show learners that you care about their progress. And the number three is creating a pleasant and supportive atmosphere in the classroom. You can create good atmosphere for learning by encouraging risk-taking and lack of fair situation in the classroom. And number four is developing a good relationship with your learners. You can do this by remembering learners' name, showing learners that you care about them as people and listening to them. And number five is stressing the benefits that knowledge of English can bring. Regularly remind learners that English is useful for their future careers. You can tell them true stories or experience of different people. And next slide is making the curriculum and teaching materials relevant. Relate the course material to everyday experience of your learners. You need to personalize your teaching to make it easier for students. And number seven is making lesson memorable, stimulating, and enjoyable. First of all, make tasks challenging enough for your students. Version a lesson which is one level above the student level. And next, using goal setting methods in your classroom. Encourage learners to set their own short term and long term goals. This will help them focus on their learning. You also need to impose goal completion deadlines. And number nine is being adaptable. Be prepared to change your lesson plan to respond to learners' needs. Sometimes your student can process to the next chapter very quickly. But when your student seem to find difficult and on a particular topic and you need to extend the time. And the last is acting like a teacher. Dress professionally when teaching, you need to pay attention to the manner of dress. You also need to be punctual because you are the role model for your student. I think enough for our presentation group and thank you for your attention.